And welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Bums podcast. It's your host, Rob, a.k.a. B-Ball Archives. And once again, I got the bums in the house. Adam, AJ, what's good? How you doing?
I don't know. AJ is drinking some glass of wine, and I'd like him to shed a little light on what he happens to be drinking over there. Looking real fancy.
I am drinking wine and feeling fine. So it is a Bordeaux blend, I believe. I don't know much about it. It was a gift from one of my homies, Trent. So cracked it open. It had a 95-point thing on the bottle. So we'll see how it goes. It needs to open up a little bit, but I think it's gonna be pretty good.
Nice. Well, there you go. All right, sipping
French wine for Victor Wembanyama.
There you go. I love it. Honestly, that's some good fun because we're going to have some good fun tonight. We're going to be doing a Spurs Moments draft where we take 16 of the best moments in San Antonio Spurs history. We put them in a bracket, and we're going to see which one comes out on top.
Excited about it.
Should be fun.
Yeah, this is something we've been talking about doing for a little bit, so excited to get together and talk about it. Let's just dive right into it. And
honestly, if you don't agree with us, talk about it in the comments. Let us know.
Yep.
I want to know if we got this right. I mean, I think we will. I think we can. I think I have an idea who's going to win, but I also feel that we might have some arguments on this one. So let's see how it goes.
Well, this is the thing. We're the most accomplished franchise of the last 25 years, even though we've gone on a little skid as of late. You start putting together this bracket, there are a lot of moments that are very, very big for us as an organization. So I don't know that it's going to be as cut as dry. I think we're going to definitely differ, and it's going to come down to some 2-1 votes to advance.
I think you are correct, good sir. Let's dive right on in. So the first matchup, we have Manu's block on James Harden versus drafting David Robinson.
Ooh, tough matchup right off the bat. Ooh.
I'm sorry, but we got to advance D-Rob. Like, what are we doing? Like, no. I think that's a cool moment for Manu, but
cool individual play, right? Like, you think back to plays over the last 10 years, that one in particular stands out. But, I mean, we don't have the Admiral without that draft pick, huh? Our first number one draft pick really ever as an organization.
Yeah. And, like, I feel like when we talk about Spurs culture and just kind of doing things the right way, so much of that started with David Robinson and his personality. I feel like he had such like I'm going to be proper and make sure that I'm well behaved on and off the court. And I think that's kind of what set the tone for us. So I think, it makes sense drafting D-Rob.
I agree. I think D-Rob definitely advances. I think there's very few things in sports that's more ominous than him standing at attention during the national anthem. So I do think D-Rob moves forward, but let's just talk about Manu for just a moment, because that block on James Harden was wild. I mean, we're talking Manu is well past his prime. James Harden has been doing the step back all season, and when we needed it the most, I believe it was also a playoff game. He made that block, and it just completely changed that outcome of that series. So shout out to Manu. I believe that might have been, correct me if I'm wrong, that also might have been the same year that his Batman thing happened too. So Manu was just on this like legend status.
He was swatting everything for a period of time.
Absolutely.
Right. D-Rob advances.
Yep.
3 unanimous on that?
D-Rob is advancing. Yeah. That's got to be unanimous. All right, so moving on, we have Wemby Lottery versus Manu cosplays as Batman.
Oh, nice.
See,
I mean, that was still a really fun moment.
Another exciting Manu moment that doesn't, like in the grand scheme of things, stack up in all-time history, but any dedicated Spurs fan remembers that, right? But like, do we not all remember where we were and how intensely we were tuned in the draft lottery from 2 years ago? I know where I was. I was at Saltgrass drinking a Michelob Ultra, ordered a ribeye. I was sitting next to my buddy Trevor, and I remember just counting down. And whenever they announced, was it the Hornets that got the second pick? Whenever they announced the Hornets. Yeah, Hornets. And how crazy the entire restaurant went. going to end up being one of the biggest moments in the history of our franchise, hopefully.
Sure. I totally agree. Yeah, whenever we heard that information, I was at work and I screamed as loud as I could because we were in between takes, and thankfully I only scared a portion of the crew. and so yeah, they felt my Spurs fandom in that moment. So yeah, that's something I'll never forget. I agree.
AJ, where were you?
I was at home on my couch, and I jumped out of the couch so quickly. I mean, you think that I was running a 40-yard dash to get into the NFL. Like, I jumped so high, and I was yelling and screaming. My dog had no idea what was going on. My wife had no idea what was going on. My phone started to blow up right after that. I mean, I got 8 calls in a matter of like 30 seconds. It was insane. But it was a fantastic moment. I cried a little bit for sure. Then I went online and started looking up all the Wemby highlights. I was like, sweet, his games are going to be on NBA TV. We're watching those for sure. So, and ever since then, I diehard Wemby fan, man. It's been fun to watch him play, man. We're gonna be so much better.
I think this is another unanimous one, but like Manu sneaks in twice with just like a crazy block and a swat of a bat. But these are big moments.
That was wild things.
Yeah,
that's just Manu being Manu.
Yep.
But I think this next matchup is going to be our first one where we may have some split. We may have some split feelings here. We got the 07 championship versus the 05 championship.
Real quick, I want all the listeners to know that this was a randomized order. We did not seed this list. Obviously, we wouldn't have 2 of our championships facing each other in the first round, but that's the way the cookie crumbled.
Yeah,
so,
all random, baby. So do we?
I know how I feel about this.
I mean, I think just right out of the gate, I think gut feeling says 05. I think that was a bigger stage for us. We were against a team that was a little bit more polished. It had some complete assets. I mean, I think that Cavs team in 07 was just kind of lucky to get there, and you know, the end result ended up being a really, really dominating sweep on our end. And so I think that when you look at how things shook out in 05, I think that ended up being more significant to our success as a franchise.
The Robert Horry game, Game 5. Yeah. We're struggling to kind of keep up with him, and Horry gives us 21 points. I think it was off like 5 or 6 threes. He was absolutely on fire that game. And it also kind of like, this is a Pistons team that had beaten the Lakers the year before. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? The Lakers had gone in that three-peat. We won in 2003. It was kind of like post-Lakers dominant era. A couple years passed, but this was a Piston team that was looking to repeat. We were in a tough series. He goes to 7, and it again gets us our 3rd ring. And comparatively to that 2007 championship where we swept LeBron and the very mediocre Cavs team for at least a finals team. I mean, they were obviously the best team to come into the East that year. Right. I think the 05 definitely clears for me.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of what I say, I think it's going to be 05 because you two already voted on it. So
we'll make a case. We still could swap our vote if I'm convinced.
Honestly, I think the 07 championship, I like it more because we swept LeBron, and I know he was young, and I get it. But it also started the narrative of maybe he's not the dude. Maybe he can't win the big thing. But then you look at this team, you're like, oh, God, this team's garbage.
Renewable.
The great Newble. So, I mean, there was Daniel Marshall was on that team too.
Big Z, Rob's favorite player for a short period of time.
Absolutely.
Non-Spur, at least.
Yeah. But also that team, that 07 team was so stacked. So, you know, I thought it was a good win for us in 07. So, you know, I do like that 07 team a lot, and I want to vote for it, but there's no point because I think 05 still.
Well, cast your vote. Cast your vote.
No, but 05 still stands out because then you're like, oh shit, we won, 2 championships in 3 years. So what do we got here? And then that's when the dynasty conversation kind of started to happen. But then ESPN were like, oh, San Antonio is a small market, so why are we talking about them? So that made it even better when we won in 07. So, I think that 07 one was fun because we didn't know how long it was going to be till we won another one. It ended up being another 7 years. So
it was also Tim's finals MVP for us. Gets him his third finals MVP. He had obviously had 2 back-to-back MVPs, I believe, in 2001 and 2002. And it also evens us with the Lakers at that point, right? So you start thinking about the Tim Duncan debate versus Shaq versus Kobe. I think at that point in time, I know all you Kobe listeners out there look back at history and view him higher, but there are very, very few people at that point in time that have Kobe Bryant above Tim Duncan, specifically after that 2005 championships. He has 3 finals MVP. Kobe has 0. It's more so like who's the top dog between Shaq and Tim Duncan, and you look back at history, that's the bigger debate than Tim Duncan versus Kobe. And I know all the Kobe stands out there are going to hate that. I'm going to get dragged in the comments.
Kobe didn't win one in 09?
Kobe well, he won back-to-back finals MVPs alongside Paul Gasol, but Shaq was the finals MVP for their three-peat every year.
Yeah.
Right. That narrative didn't shift until he switched from 8 to 24, and then he started to, I feel like, take his leadership role a little bit more seriously, and then I felt like that's when he kind of developed into who he was meant to be. But yeah, that sounds like we're saying 05.
But I will
Long
say,
story short,
Tony Parker, finals MVP, just absolutely abusing Boobie Gibson, and what's his name? The guy that had sex with LeBron James' mom.
Delonte West.
Sorry, I couldn't think of his name.
Delonte West.
Sorry, my bad.
Homeless drug addict, unfortunately.
Oh, man. I wish that wasn't the case, but yeah, we've seen the pictures.
Yeah.
All right, and moving on to the next matchup, we've got 03 championship versus David Robinson's quadruple double. Man. AJ, how you feel?
Yeah.
How are you feeling about this, AJ?
Man, 03 was a great championship. It was, but oh man,
we haven't seen a quadruple. Too long on this.
We haven't seen a quadruple double since then.
It's true.
So, like, we haven't seen one in however long time that is. It has to be 30 years now, and I think Wemby's going to be the next one to do it. But I mean, a championship's a championship. But also, David hasn't. No one's done it since then. So I got David.
Man, someone's got to be a contrarian here. I respect you for taking this role. Give me 03. To your point, there's only 4 players in the history of the NBA that have a quadruple double, right? David Robinson, Hakeem Olajuwon, Alvin Robertson, and Nate Thurmond. Thank you for reminding me of it being Nate Thurmond before recording here, Rob. But give me that 03. We kind of talked about it earlier. Lakers three-peat. At this point in time, we only have one. This is the last championship with the Twin Towers together and Robinson and Duncan. You could argue that this kind of starts forming our dynasty a little bit. I'd agree with you that it might more so be that third one, but it's like, hey, this is our second. Tim's getting his second finals MVP. That 03 championship was very, very big for the history of our organization.
Oh, absolutely. And it's one of the very few, I would say, carry jobs in NBA history where Tim Duncan took an aged David Robinson, a second-year Manu, a rookie Tony, and then was basically like, hey, we're gonna make a run, and not only a good run, but a dominating run, and then putting up finals numbers that are damn near quadruple double. Should have been.
It was also kind of cool. I'm sorry. Go ahead, AJ.
No, I was gonna say, have you guys seen that video of someone doing stat counts on Tim Duncan's potential quadruple double? And I mean, like,
he should have had it.
He should have had it. You know, he should have had it. But social media wasn't a thing back in 03, so someone missed 2 blocks. But kind of crazy that those 2 matchups, and Timmy should have had a quadruple double in that closing game. Also, shout out to Steven Jackson for winning that closeout game. Adam, go ahead.
I was going to just say real quick before we move on to the next topic, I also think it was cool how in between our 99 and 2003 championship, Tim Duncan was considering leaving and going to Orlando, I believe, right? That was in between. And there was also rumors, I think it was after this, but of us trading Tony Parker potentially in a package for Jason Kidd.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of cool to have, granted, I think Speedy Claxton ended up getting as many minutes, if not more, than Parker in that series. But yeah, the 03 clears. It's hard really to think about ranking all of our championships, but that's not last. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree. That was a very, very memorable moment for Spurs fans. Awesome. So we're done with the first round. On the West, let's move on to the East. We're looking at moving from Dallas to San Antonio. So basically, Chaparrals to San Antonio Spurs. And we got that versus opening night at the Alamo Dome. Adam, how you feeling about it?
Y'all remember that opening night though?
You know what?
Yep, like it was yesterday.
Yeah, I actually attended the opening night at the SBC Center and saw George Gervin running up and down not running up, but like leaving, and I chased after him and got his autograph. But in terms of these, I would probably say, I would say our move from Dallas to San Antonio, right? Like, we are now named the Spurs because of that move. We have a fan base in a city that we grew up in because of that move. So maybe that's a little bit of a homer pick. The Alamo Dome is still in existence. It's still very old and in need of a remodel that will never happen. But that was big for us, right?
Burn it to the ground.
Home to our first 2 championships, I believe. At least, were we still there in 2003?
No, that was first year of SBC.
Okay, so home to our first championship, huge arena. But I got to give it from moving from Dallas to San Antonio, right? Make way for the Mavericks to come in and be the third best, team in Texas
Tech
history.
Red Raiders.
Yeah.
Basketball teams, Spurs, Tech basketball, Baylor basketball, Mavs. I think that's the order.
There we go.
Yeah. They're in Houston too.
But I totally agree that it would have to be moving from Dallas to San Antonio. I just think that created the sort of small market sort of feel that the Spurs have. I think if it would have been in Dallas, it would have felt slightly more of a commercial team, and that's not really what San Antonio is all about. So yeah, I would agree moving to San Antonio.
Yeah, but that Alamo Dome first game when the fire cannon went off and that water cannon got
and just
the entire
just drenched
section wet. They were coming out just absolutely drenched. The floor got wet. It delayed the game by an hour and a half, 2 hours or something like that. But it was also like the beginning of, all right, so why did this happen? Is this a bad omen? But then you look around and all those games at the Alamo Dome, dude, we were selling out like 30,000 people. I mean, that's insane to think about for a basketball game. 30,000 people. I distinctly remember as a child going to see Michael Jordan play, and there was 36,000 people watching a basketball game. Like, that's absolutely insane. I mean, now that number is still high because they get the NCAA tournament championships and things like that. But that was probably one of the craziest opening nights ever in an arena. But
I have some fond memories of going to the Alamo Dome.
The fan fiesta.
Oh yeah,
dude, fan fiesta on the other side. See you in the third quarter. I'm out.
So in 2001, my dad and he took me to a Spurs playoff game versus the Sonics, and we scalped these tickets, right? And then on Mother's Day, I want to go to this game, and my dad's like, well, I can't take you and not take your mom. So it's me, my dad, my mom, and my grandma all hop in a car, and we go down there, and we start scalping tickets. And my dad's trying to negotiate with this scalper on Mother's Day, and we're lowballing him. And he's like, that was versus the Sonics. This is the Lakers. And he's like, my dad's just a heavy negotiator, right? And I just remember an ultimate line. He's like, I'm doing it for the mothers. I'm not for you. I'm doing it for the mothers. So it's like, so I have a big fond memory that my dad and I still talk about from the Alamo Dome playoff game. And we did lose.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, so
awesome.
Are we in agreement of moving from Dallas to San Antonio? Or is AJ contrarian again?
No, I will say that was going to be my pick. But also, if you guys get a chance, all the viewers, look up that story when Red McCones rented the Spurs and moved them to San Antonio. It's a wild story, and it's amazing how that's our foundation of how we became the San Antonio Spurs we know today. So shout out to Red McCones, RIP. But that whole story of the Spurs moving from Dallas to San Antonio, nuts.
Bro, and then he literally bought George Gervin. George Gervin's contract was a briefcase full of cash, and he bought him from the Virginia Squires to come play for San Antonio, and literally just dropped off a briefcase. And that was like the conception of all right, we're moving to San Antonio. And it's like, that was wild.
Yep.
Absolutely wild. But okay, moving on to the next one. This is going to be tough.
This is a tough one.
No.
We got the 2014 championship versus drafting Tim Duncan.
Ooh.
Oh, man.
Heebie-jeebies.
Rob, you go first.
I mean, ultimately, I think I have to go with drafting Tim Duncan because I think if you remove Tim Duncan from the Spurs equation, I don't think 90% of the things on here even happen. So I got to look at it from a realistic lens. And as much as I loved 2014 and the revenge we got on that really amazing Heat team and how satisfying that was, I still feel like I got to go with drafting Tim Duncan. That's next level important for the franchise. Arguably the most important moment in our history.
Yeah, looking ahead at the bracket, this was one that I was like, crap. I was like, am I going to have a draft selection overtake one of our biggest rings? Because if I'm honestly picking all 5 championships, I think the 2014 is my favorite. And I feel like the one that almost that core of Spurs players value the most, right? Like by the time 2005 and 2007 happened, they were almost expecting it. But they go 7 years of struggling, some lower seeds in the West to finally, like you said, overcoming that hump, beating the Miami Heat. Also just like one of the most beautiful brands of basketball we've gotten to see in the last however many years, long time. But that 14 championship doesn't happen without Duncan. Neither does 7, neither does 5, 3, 99. I think you can argue, and I'm interested to see how far this goes, but I think this might be the biggest moment looking back at how our organization's been shaped ever is drafting Tim Duncan, and I agree. I'm going with that.
Well, I'm going 2014 championship because there's no better feeling than revenge. I'll be honest with you, because I was so heartbroken in 2013. I mean, I was so heartbroken because I was at Freetail Brewery on 1604. We were having a great time, and then Ray Allen, that son of a bitch, made that shot on Tony Parker. Oof. And I mean, that was I left. I'm so glad I closed my tab. I just pieced out. I didn't say bye to anybody. I was just mad the entire time heading back home. So and it stuck with me for a while. Like it really, really pissed me off. And to see our guys come back that strong and just like day one of off-season training is like, we're going to be back there. We're going to face the Heat and we're going to beat them this time. And it wasn't like we just beat the Heat in 2014. Like we kicked their ass. Like we dominated that series. And you could tell Tim Duncan looked like he was 22 again. And Manu and Tony and Danny Green was on fire. That's when he made was that 2013 or 2014 when he made all those 3-pointers? So,
Boris Diaw was big.
Boris Diaw was the dude.
Patty Mills, like Marco Bellinelli, that whole entire unit gelled so well together. Tiago Splitter.
I get it. Tim Duncan, drafting Tim Duncan, I understand he's a cornerstone of our organization, but 2014 was really kind of our last. Obviously, getting Wemby is a huge moment, but 2014 was the last moment where we were sitting at the top. Everything was fantastic. We had Kawhi taking the place of Tim Duncan. We had young guys coming in. That Derek White was coming in later. I mean, we had so much potential. DeJounte Murray came shortly after that, and 2014 was like kind of like, I don't know if that was such a high moment, such a peak for our organization. I hope we get there again, but I don't think we get there again unless we win either back-to-back or a three-peat, or if we end up losing to someone and then doing the same thing. But the thing is, the teams aren't going to be built like the Heat. And the reason why is because of all the stuff that went on. And, now we're going to have a little bit more even teams, as Adam Silver says. So we'll see. But I'm going to go 2014 championship because just like you, Adam, it's my favorite championship. And I was so happy for that moment for us.
No, that makes sense. I mean, it's definitely a satisfying revenge moment, and when you're saying like that may be like the best brand of basketball we ever played as a unit, I totally agree. Yeah, it's just tough for me to say that's more important than drafting the big fundamental.
Yeah, this is a tougher first round matchup for me than our 05 versus 07.
Oh yeah, this is the toughest.
And
this is the toughest one right here.
Whenever I looked at this bracket after AJ first made it, I thought 14 was going to clear everybody. And as I'm sitting here before we start recording thinking about it, I'm like, where is all this? Like, do we even have Manu to slap the bat away if Tim Duncan's gone? Is like are any of these moments on here even happening if Tim wasn't drafted by us? Like, Manu's not retiring a Spur. Parker's not retiring a Spur.
Yeah.
Where are we without the big fundamental, huh? And I'm gonna have to vote and stand behind my Tim Duncan vote, as much as it pains me, because I can't even tell AJ that he's wrong here. It's just.
Well, Adam, you are responsible for eliminating the 2014 championship. So there we go. Tim Duncan advances. All right, and
I would say I'm disappointed, but nothing is more disappointing than the last day of a cruise and you're in your room. So, Rob, continue.
I promise I was more disappointed than you. I can assure you of that.
And moving on to the next round, we've got signing LaMarcus Aldridge versus the 99 championship.
Do we even need to discuss this one?
99. Come
99.
on. Our
Sure.
first championship. I mean, okay, granted, we don't get to sign a lot of all-star caliber players.
Right.
So
Yeah.
signing LaMarcus Aldridge, I don't just want to gloss over that like it was nothing. Dude was an absolute bucket when he came and played for us. So I'm not going to hate on him one bit. But that 99, that's our first championship. That was monumental for the organization. That solidified that we were honestly the next team up after the Chicago dynasty was done. It was the Spurs' time to dominate, and I think that doesn't get talked about nearly enough.
Yeah, this one
Jaren
clears.
Jackson.
This one clears for sure.
Ooh, can we name that starting five for the 99 championship real quick?
Absolutely can.
Yeah.
We have
Little Avery
Avery
Johnson.
Johnson, Mario Ellie, right? Sean Elliott, Tim Duncan, David Robinson,
Yep.
with Steve Kerr off the bench.
Jaren Jackson off the bench. Was Kevin Willis on the 99 team? No, he was 03.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he was there in 99.
Will Purdue was on the 99 championship team.
Mang Batir. No, I'm just kidding.
No, honestly, we didn't bring in Mang Batir until we needed more people to foul Shaq, and then we were like, Mang Batir, we got you.
Antonio Ganos was on that 99 team too.
Was he?
Yeah. I wore my socks high because of him.
We're going to fact check that after the episode. I'm not positive
please.
about that.
No, please fact
Antonio
check it.
Daniels was
Definitely
dope.
on that
And
99
honestly, that moment where I saw him play at Home Court America made me realize I'm never going to be a professional basketball player in any capacity. And I had that moment when I was 11, so it was very, very early on.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely 99. But also shout out to that was a huge get for us. That was supposed to be like the next cornerstone after 14, and we're supposed to be pairing him with Kawhi and all these people. And I mean, he was a bucket. He actually played well, but just that Zaza play just really derailed our entire game plan.
We don't speak of the Pachuls.
Speaking of,
okay, moving on. So obviously 99 clears LaMarcus. Sorry, LaMarcus. But moving on, we got trading Kawhi versus the Memorial Day Miracle.
I refuse to have Kawhi advancing in a bracket, even if it's us getting rid of him.
I agree.
Right?
I
Memorial
agree.
Day Miracle was the biggest moment of our 1999 championship, too, right?
Yeah.
The big shot. I was out in Bandera at this place called Pop's Place. I still remember where I was watching on this small, tiny TV, in the upper corner. AJ has a post of ours that we posted it on our socials a while back with him describing his emotion behind it. I think this one clears. This is one of the biggest moments in the history of the Spurs organization. Shout out to Sean Elliott.
Sean Elliott got the job being the color guy for the Spurs because of this moment. Does Sean Elliott keep in mind Sean Elliott got traded to the Pistons, then he came back and he had a chip on his shoulder, and on top of all this shit, he was going through kidney issues. So when he made this shot, he was literally losing a kidney, and it wasn't until that offseason we found out that he needed a kidney transplant from his brother. So yeah, Memorial Day Miracle all day.
Yeah, absolutely. That clears and also creates an interesting matchup next round. But let's move on to the second round. That is all the first round matchups are done. Let's see what
The
we're
Elite
looking
Eight.
like. Yeah, let's see what we're looking like in the Elite Eight.
Ooh, this one's gonna be tough.
So first matchup in the West, we've got drafting David Robinson versus drafting Wemby. Or Wemby lottery, excuse me.
I think we got to go with David Robinson draft, right?
No,
And
I go
I
with
know
Wemby.
there's recency bias here because Wemby just happened, but I mean Duncan or David Robinson helps us win those first 2 rings. He again to the biggest thing that Rob said earlier is he helped create a culture of excellence and class within San Antonio. And Popovich has talked about how easy it was to coach that Spurs team whenever you have superstars like David Robinson and Tim Duncan to be examples, and with how coachable they are. Now he could talk to them the same way he talks to the guys at the end of the bench. So I think in terms of setting our culture and laying the foundation, like does Tim Duncan stay with our organization without the existence of David Robinson? I think that's possibly. I think he's possibly going to Orlando if we don't have a guy like D-Rob. I'm excited for what Wemby could be doing for us in the future, but I think that's a bigger moment if you really look back at the history of our entire organization.
Yeah, no, I totally agree and see where you're coming from. AJ, how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, that's cool, man. But Wemby reset our organization. He like literally we reset our organization with Wemby. Like I wouldn't have this shirt if it wasn't for Wemby. So for me, and it could be recency bias, I don't know, but for me, it gives us all the hope we had when we also drafted David. It gave us the hope of we're going to get over the hump. We're going to move forward. It's going to be good. We're going to get more superstars because people are going to come play with Wemby. I mean, we have a generational talent to the tune of like LeBron James status almost. Like, I mean, I think we have a guy that we've never had before, and that excites me. It makes me super happy that he came to us. Like, I don't know what nun is praying to the Lord to get Spurs all these draft picks, especially number 1, but I'm here for it. I think as much as David has been the foundation, I 100% agree. Wemby reset our organization, and he is what we're going to be for the next 15 to 20 years, God willing. So I want to go. I'm going to go with Wemby because
tell us how you really feel, though,
AJ.
AJ. Are you
Dude,
sure? Are you confident in this decision?
Gutter. We were in the gutter. Like we were so bad. Like there was no hope for us. And then this alien comes down from the heavens and blesses us with his length and his shot and a silver medal. Dude, I'm sorry. It's Wemby. It has to be Wemby for me. It has to be Wemby.
Oh, well, this seemingly is the toughest matchup when we're looking at our fearless leader, Rob, to decide who advances. Let us know, Rob. Who's going to be going on to the next round?
I'm basically okay. Here's how I'm breaking it down. I think I'm going to go Wemby. And I think I'm basing it just on the fact I think he's going to be the best player on our team for at least 1, if not 2 championships. I firmly believe that throughout the course of his history, at least.
10.
Not 1, not 2, not 3.
I'm going to speak objectively. At least 1 or 2. It's hard to win in today's NBA. It truly is. And whenever I'm looking at it through that lens, that's something that David Robinson did not do. He was never the best player on one of our championship teams. And in fact, one of the championship teams he was on, I think that he was way past his prime and was barely playing enough minutes to be a starter most nights. And so I'm not diminishing his contribution to
you
what we
hate
did.
the Admiral. You hate David Robinson.
But when I'm looking at potential and ability to be the best player, not only on our team in a championship winning environment, but to be the face of the league, that's Wembanyama. And I'm sorry, but I think that slightly outdoes what we got from the Admiral, even though he was so monumental for creating the culture that is what we have today.
I don't like how it feels with my pick not advancing, and now I feel bad for AJ having him lose a couple of those earlier. That didn't feel good. All right, R.I.P. to David Robinson in this bracket. He's balanced with his quadruple double. His importance is negligent. All right,
that's right.
On to the next one.
He's still on 2 championships that we haven't gotten to.
This is a good one. We're going in next.
Yep.
The 2005 championship versus the 2003 championship. Ooh.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Since I finished up last on that one, I'll start off on this one.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna go 03. I think 03 was more important, and like I was saying earlier, I think that was really one of the only Tim Duncan carry jobs, and I think that was his best and his most brightest shining moment. So I think 03 for me.
I agree. I think 05 was a more exciting series, but we win one, the Lakers three-peat, and then we kind of end their dynasty. That championship, and the following year, the Pistons beating them breaks up the Kobe-Shaq duo. And that's our second ring. It's Duncan's second Finals MVP. He goes Finals MVP. 2 of the next 3 years, he gets MVP with his back-to-backs and then gets another Finals MVP. I think the 03, in terms of our history, is more important, even if the 2005 series is more exciting.
Yeah, I got 2005 because there's nothing more exciting than like a 78-75 game in the finals, because that Pistons team was tough, and we went 7 games with them. Like we dropped that 6th game and we had to win game 7. So for me, I mean, we all knew we were going to beat the Nets. It was a walk in the park. That Pistons thing was a little rough. Like it got dicey there, and Robert Horry definitely saved us game 5. So and then 2007 is when 2005 in game 7 is when Tim Duncan shows up again. So, I got 2005 just because that series was just, like you said, more exciting, even though there wasn't a whole lot of scoring. But it was also like Pop versus Larry Brown, Tony versus Chauncey Billups. I mean, we stacked up so well with that Pistons team, and that Pistons team was damn good too.
That was a good Pistons team.
And keep in mind, they had 4 All-Stars on that team. They had Tayshaun Prince, Chauncey Billups, Rasheed Wallace, and Ben Wallace. And that dude, Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace versus Tim Duncan and was it Nazi or Rasho? I think it was Nazi.
I think it was Nazi in 2007, wasn't it?
So I mean that was a tough matchup for us. So I got 2005. It was also when Manu started to really blossom as a competitor. Same thing with Tony. So I got 2005. But
was Rip Hamilton the 4th All-Star, or was it Rasheed?
Maybe
no, it was Rip. I don't think Tayshaun was an All-Star.
I think Tayshaun made one All-Star game.
Did he?
I'm pretty sure. We'll look that up. We'll fact check that later, but I'm not positive on that. Okay, so we're again 2-1. AJ's
03.
AJ, I want to take a second to appreciate you for being Skip Bayless tonight and at least giving us some discussion and some pushback on me and Rob seem to be comparing notes before this episode. It almost seems like we were not, though.
I need to not be late for these recordings anymore.
Okay, I think we have an absolute dog walking in the next round, huh?
Yeah, we've got moving to San Antonio and drafting Tim Duncan. And it's 1, 2, 3, moving to San Antonio.
Yeah, like what San Antonio is annexed into Austin if Tim Duncan doesn't get drafted. He is us. He is San Antonio. Tim Duncan clears. Someone disagrees.
What do you mean? I am San Antonio Boulevard.
I actually literally was watching an episode right before I hopped on. I was eating my dinner watching an episode of Entourage. So
nice.
Yeah.
You are Queens Boulevard.
I am.
You're very turtle. No.
AJ's turtle. I'm E. I'm
Our
tiny.
turtle for Halloween.
Were you?
Yeah, Rob, which one were you?
Billy Walsh.
I honestly, Billy Walsh would make more sense. I don't even. Because I had the suit suck shirt. Yeah,
that's
and
amazing.
Then I think Cam was Ari and Wiz was like.
That's amazing.
E or something. It was a fun time.
E.
Yeah. You should have been Dom with that bald ass head.
Dom.
Hey, this was the Florida hat day. Sorry, Wiz.
Love my boy Wiz.
right.
Okay, so Duncan clears. Rob, what do we have in the next round?
Yeah, we have the 99 championship versus the Memorial Day Miracle. So it's basically like friendly fire. Like it's
Man.
I'm gonna say Memorial Day Miracle.
I knew
we don't go
would.
to the championship. We don't go to the championship without Sean Elliott, and we also sweep the Trailblazers. That game was an L. I would love to see that betting chart where it's like, the chances of them winning, and then Sean Elliott hitting that shot and it drops. Also, Sean Elliott had like 7 threes that game, so I got Memorial Day Miracle because 99 wouldn't happen without it.
Oof.
Man.
I'm going to go with the 99. I think that we still could beat that Portland team without that win. And what's the 99 championship? Like, what's the Memorial Day Miracle mean if we don't go on to win that championship? It's our first one. This is a tough one, but I got to go with the 99.
Yeah.
Rob, the tiebreaker.
I think I'm gonna go 99 as well because of what you just said. Like it's like if he hits that shot and we go to the finals and we get dogged walk in the finals, no one's remembering the Memorial Day Miracle like in that way. I'm sorry, it's the truth.
But we lost 2 games that entire playoff run. Like we lost 2 games and we swept the Trailblazers. We were riding high, dude.
That's what I mean. Like, we still have a chance to win that series, even with a loss in that game. I mean, as big of a moment as that is.
But then it's 1-1. Trailblazers just kicked our ass at home. We go back to Portland, and then what happens? Like, we don't know because we didn't have to worry about it.
We absolutely boof Damon Stoudemire is what happens. Rasheed Wallace gets imprisoned for something. Yeah, I don't know. That was a tough one. I feel bad for AJ there. We almost need to give AJ like a veto button.
Hold on. This is my argument because I actually picked the Memorial Day Miracle to win this whole thing. So that's why I'm a little salty right now.
Man.
And so in my defense, the 99 championship on its own was okay. It was fine. It was our first one. Everyone was excited. It was great. But nothing's going to take away from the Memorial Day Miracle. Like, we celebrate it every year. Every year, the NBA TV drops that video, and I get so excited watching it. And, I mean, what happens if we don't make that shot? I don't know. We might beat Portland. I would imagine we do. But what if we didn't?
Come back game 7 to dominate.
AJ, I'm going to say this right now. We appreciate you speaking up to this, and we appreciate you being heard. Your championship pick is getting eliminated in the quarterfinals, and that's that, my friend. Eesh.
Yeah, it's
unless
okay.
Rob wants to change his vote. You want to change your vote, Rob?
The 99 championship, 5 games of boring. Cool. Spike Lee was the best.
You're talking down our first championship in the history of our organization.
We played the Knicks. Who were the Knicks? They were an 8 seed.
They're Latrell Sprewell and Allen Houston.
They were an 8 seed.
Yeah, the old 99.
They were
advancing.
an 8
I'm just
99.
I just view Memorial Day Miracle as a sum of one of the parts that is the 99 championship. So I can't say that one of the parts
we're talking
is bigger
about
than the sum.
The championship, that series was 5 games of yawning. The only reason they won that 4th game is because the refs were eating. Never mind. So what I was going to say is the Memorial Day Miracle is the biggest moment in Spurs history, even though it's going to get knocked out over these 2 dipshits that we're going to be talking right now. So.
And it's gone.
And bye-bye, Sean.
And
we appreciate you.
It's eliminated. It wouldn't matter if we didn't win. And and we're moving on to the West. We've got Wemby lottery versus 03 championship.
Ooh.
I'm gonna let Adam start this one off.
Well, I'm like I feel like a battered wife that fought for David Robinson in the last round and lost to Wemby. I got to go with 3. I got to go with 3. I'm having a tough time. As much as I love Wemby and as much excitement as he's brought to our organization, and he's like the entire reason we're excited as a fan base right now, he hasn't done anything yet. We just won like 21 games last year, like 22 games. I need him to, if we redo this bracket in 5 years and he's gotten the hardware that we earned in 2003, maybe I'll swap my vote. But I'm going to make sure that at least in one side of the bracket, we have a championship advancing. And that for me will be the 2003 championship.
I think oh man, it's so hard to not say Wemby in this moment, but I think I'm in agreement. I think I gotta go 03 just slightly over Wemby.
I already know AJ's going Wemby.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was
I
gonna
know.
go. I was gonna go win.
Oh, yeah.
So I just think 03 or the 03 championship does not deserve to be in the finals. I'm sorry, it does not. Like that is easily the 5th best finals that we have.
How spoiled are we as an organization? We're like, our championships are trash. Fuck those. How spoiled are we?
I mean, I think you're viewing it more as like the quality of the basketball games you were watching, not like how we played. Like I don't view like in '07, I don't view that as a bad final series because it was a sweep. I view it just because we were playing a really inferior opponent. But in '03, I think that was just peak Tim Duncan. That was as good as Tim Duncan will ever have been on a basketball court. And so I think what he did in the finals, that is in '03, that's as good as it's ever going to get for the big fundamental.
I just thought of something, boys. I know this is completely off topic, but how does hiring Greg Popovich as our coach not be in this bracket at all?
He essentially hired himself. I mean,
That's wild to think about. We probably should have had him over fucking LaMarcus.
yeah, probably.
But anyways, I'm sorry. AJ, come on, give it to us. We know what you want to say. Just say
I mean,
it.
I said Wemby, but 03 is gonna back its way into a finals. So here we are.
AJ's gonna not show up for the next few episodes, recovering from the beating that he's receiving.
We are
on
never
this.
doing a bracket again. We are never doing a bracket.
Man, Rob, and
I like
think
how you're complaining about it, but you set it up. You had the ability to change the fucking names and the teams in the order, and this is how you sent it off.
Yep. Because I'm an honest person. I'm not going to fix things like my friend Adam would have done.
I don't think seeding him was a bad idea. All right, bye-bye. Another pick of AJ's. See you later. 2003.
All right.
Stamped in the finals.
03 is making it into the finals. And then we have, in the East, we've got Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan being drafted versus the 99 championship.
Tim Duncan.
Tim Duncan being drafted. Yeah. I mean, there's...
AJ disagrees again.
99 doesn't even... Like... Who are we in '99 without the big fundamental?
AJ
AJ
disagrees again, I think.
I mean, it's funny that obviously Tim Duncan's the cornerstone of our organization. I'm not going to dispute that. But the argument for the Memorial Day Miracle is the same one you're making for Tim Duncan. So, Tim Duncan.
Oh, you're still salty that the Memorial Day Miracle is not in.
It's the same argument.
Were you going to put Memorial Day Miracle over Tim?
No, that was going to be a little bit better of a conversation.
You might have changed your mind on the spot because earlier you said you had Memorial going all the way.
Yeah,
but
I did.
But drafting Tim Duncan is the only thing on this entire list where if you remove it, the majority of other things go out the door with it. That is the only thing on this list that is like that. So that alone, I have to put it over
one individual.
I mean, we're about to find out.
So we have
Tim over everything, baby.
We have Tim Duncan coming out of the East, the drafting of Tim Duncan versus the 2003 championship coming out of the West. Ooh. AJ, why don't you go first?
Drafting Tim Duncan.
Yeah, it's drafting
Tim Duncan. Wow. I did not see this. We don't even have a championship as our biggest moment because what are they without drafting Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
that's fair.
Top 5 to 10 player in the history of the organization. Back-to-back MVP, 3 times Finals MVP. Countless all-defensive teams. Countless first-team All-NBAs. I think you probably know the exact number, but it's I think the most defensive All-NBAs in the history of the NBA. Right?
It's 15. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he is the best player of our era over Shaq, over Kobe Bryant. Where are we as an organization without drafting this man in 1997? We're nowhere. He's the reason AJ's got the banner behind him. We all have a Tim Duncan jersey in our closet. He's the GOAT. He's our GOAT.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say outside of literally Bill Russell, I would say that he is the most consistent and stable team defender I've ever seen play basketball. And the results speak for itself, not only with how he protects the rim, how he creates a good defensive team environment, but those things impact winning. And he did it multiple times in multiple decades throughout the course of generations. It was Tim Duncan being elite and being effective and getting it done the right way. You know, not being a big fuss off the court, not being a guy that was creating headlines for the wrong reasons, but just doing it the right way.
You know, sorry, go ahead, AJ. I apologize.
No, whenever he did hit the headlines, it wasn't his fault. So, yeah, no, he's a constant professional. He looks like he's enjoying retirement too. It's fun to see him back helping Wemby with some of his footwork and things like that. So, without Tim Duncan, yeah, you're right. This list doesn't happen. All these things don't happen. So, I'm happy with the winner. Definitely drafting Tim Duncan should be number one on pretty much all the boards. So. I'm mad at you guys, but I'm not mad at the result.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just facts over here. Just facts over feelings.
I think Rob and I only disagreed with like two this entire time, one or two. We disagreed with Wemby versus David Robinson. Was that the only one? We just bullied and teamed up on AJ. I'm sorry, AJ.
Oh yeah, not surprising. Only 20 years of my life.
My bad, buddy.
Well, I mean, it could have been a whole lot of just unanimous votes, but I mean, you chose to play devil's advocate, and we appreciate
Stephen
that.
A. Flores.
Not mad at that. That's a huge compliment. That means one day I'm going to make like $30 million a year on ESPN just yelling at the TV.
By the way,
Hey, dude,
shout out to Ty.
If you're yelling at me, that would be dope.
Hey, completely separate side note related to our last episode. Ty was listening to our most recent episode earlier, and he said he wouldn't be surprised if it was Michelle Beadle that takes over. And I was like, you know what? That's a good point. I could see
Bernie's own Michelle Beadle.
I ran into her. My mom was getting LASIK surgery, and I ran into her and her dad standing outside. I was like, "Are you Michelle Beadle?" She's like, "I am."
No.
That's funny.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Walk away.
Well,
This
is a
that's
good
an
episode,
interesting
boys.
take.
This is a good episode, huh? We've been wanting to do this. I want to thank our good friend and bum AJ for putting together this bracket. How dare you for not seeding it, by the way?
I'm okay with it because some people got eliminated before they were supposed to. Some lasted longer than they were supposed to. But I think ultimately the winner showed their true colors. Drafting Tim Duncan, that made the most sense.
Yeah, it's all about matchups at the end of the day on these brackets because, I mean, I don't think any of us would have been like, yeah, 0-3 championship needs to make it to the finals. I don't think any of us would have said that. So, just bad matchups, man. Bad matchups. Bad opinions. Bad takes.
Salty ass.
Right, yeah.
AJ's salty.
Yeah.
All right, I
all
scrap
in
it.
your
Memorial
feelings.
Day Miracle wins. I'm just kidding.
Right, yeah. Let's just vote based on feelings. Yeah. But yeah, ultimately, I think we need to do more stuff like that. We need to pull out some more brackets, whether it's, fun moments. It could be, I'm not exactly sure how we would frame it, but yeah, we need to do some more stuff like this.
Yeah, that was fun. Let us know in the comments, by the way, if y'all disagree. And as always, we appreciate you listening. Like and subscribe. Share the video. Follow us at Baseline Bums Podcast on Instagram. Give us a follow at the Baseline Bums Podcast on YouTube. Give Rob a follow on B-Ball Archive since we'll apparently never get our TikTok back.
Yeah, probably not.
Listen to us on Apple. Give us our flowers. We appreciate you coming along for the ride.
Also, definitely give us suggestions on some brackets. If you want to hear a certain bracket, maybe Spurs players or Spurs coaches or whoever, I don't care. Let's make some more brackets. Give us some ideas. We're going to brainstorm some too, so we got some in the hopper for you guys here later on.
Oh, the next one that we need to do is doing a snake draft of all-time Spurs players and see who ends up with the best team. That's the next one that we'll be doing, actually.
Yeah, because we can literally run that simulation in 2K and literally see who wins.
Who would be the first pick in that?
I think, I mean,
well, hold on. Time out.
It's going to be Wemby. Yeah.
Yeah, let's we're going to have to put some rules and parameters on this because I'm curious to know if we're going to be like drafting how they were with the Spurs or just drafting the player.
In their how they were on the Spurs.
Okay, so I'm not going to draft Tracy McGrady. Got it.
Correct. You're not drafting Tracy McGrady.
Or Dominique
Importance of what they were to our franchise and like their best peak on our team.
Okay,
that makes sense. Yeah, but yeah, we're gonna be cranking out some more stuff like that because that's fun off-season chat right there. But yeah, I feel like that was a good episode. Flowed really well. I'm digging it. But yeah, AJ sipping some good wine. That seems like it's time for us to head out. So yeah, once again, it's Rob, aka B-Ball Archives. You've been listening to the Baseline Bums podcast, and as always, it is
Go
Spurs.
Spurs.
Go.